Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at a horror film from 1989 from one of my favorite indie studios, Troma. That movie is Beware Children at Play. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I have no idea what the hell this movie is, about. I have never seen a trailer. I haven't read the back of this thing. I do not know. There's only two things I really know about this movie. Number one, it has a warning label on the front, warning that it is so violent it should not be viewed by pregnant women or people with heart conditions. That is not a normal thing for a Troma film. The only other thing I know is that I've seen a couple of clips of this already without knowing it was from this. And it's because on a whole lot of Troma DVDs, there's something known as the Troma Intelligence Test, which is just little, trivia questions about the world of Troma. And if you get them right, you are then treated to a little bit of TNA courtesy of a classic Troma film. If you get them wrong, you are treated to one of the more violent scenes from Troma films, and a whole lot of those violent scenes were scenes of children dying. And I found out that they were, from this movie, and I've been fascinated to check it out ever since. And now I finally get my chance. I'm really hoping that this thing goes, down as one of the better Troma films, but frankly, the only way I'm going to find out is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Beware Children at Play. Okay, guys, I totally understand that this right here is a low-budget film, but I really don't think that filming with the camera on the hood of the car was the best option to go with, because there is constantly a bright fucking glare in the middle of the windshield, and it is incredibly distracting. Okay. I've only seen this woman for 45 seconds. I want her to die. I want this, I guess that she's supposed to be a journalist. I want her bitchy ass dead. I want her to die the most bloody and spectacular death in this entire film. That is how much I hate her, and she's just been introduced. God, I fucking hate her so much. Wait. So they now know that their children are being, kidnapped, and that they're somewhere in the woods. Instead of organizing a search party, they say, nope, we can't. We could never find the kids in these woods, even if we had the National Guard. Bullshit! If you had the fucking National Guard, you'd find these kids in, 2 days, maybe 3? Those woods do not look that big. You could organize a search party with all of the people in town. You might find them in a week. Get off your lazy ass and do something. Jesus Christ. Okay, good news is, the woman that I wanted to die, died. Bad news, it was not the most gruesome death in the film so far. Well, then again, we haven't had a whole lot. So yeah, good news is that she's dead. Bad news, I really wish that they'd have killed her in a much more, grandiose fashion than, have her run into a spiky log. I was kind of hoping for something better, you know what I mean? Okay, I have a big question to ask here. So, the sheriff of this town is absolutely distrusted and hated by the entire town. How the fuck did he get elected sheriff in the first place if he is the biggest goddamn pariah in town? It's really kind of bugging me now. I'm kind of sick of hearing all of the bitch and whine and bellyache when they were the ones who voted him in. I want to know how the fuck he got elected. I'm really curious now. Okay, that honestly is probably the kill of the film. Killing a kid by stabbing him in the throat with a fucking pitchfork, that was unique. Well, That was Beware Children at Play, and let me shut that off. I'd like to say right now that I've seen a lot of Troma movies, and I've seen ones with dark endings, kind of, but they're still kind of sort of like a happy, like, silver, lining on those endings. This doesn't have that, guys. This is probably the bleakest film I've ever seen Troma put out, and that is saying a lot. The ending. If you have children, if you care about children, the ending is going to make you physically sick. Okay? I'm going to warn you right now, straight up. If you have any kind of attachment to small children, the ending is going to make you want to heave. All right? And there is no justification for the ending outside of everybody's fucking nuts. Okay? And the only person who is sane dies. Big spoiler there, but then again, if I'm not mistaken, that also was shown in the trailer. I should mention before the movie started, because this is a Troma DVD, they always have a little intro from Lloyd Lloyd Kaufman, the head of Troma. He talked about how they had the trailer for this thing, and they showed it before Tromeo and Juliet, when they showed Tromeo and Juliet at the Cannes Film Festival. And apparently, because most of that trailer is made up of the ending, most of the people who were in the theater stormed out in protest. And I don't blame them. I can totally see how even the trailer for this thing could cause people to go flooding out of a theater en masse. Okay, let's just make that clear. Now, I totally understand. I haven't really talked about anything, but god damn it, just that ending. Wow. That was dark. So, why don't we talk about the writing? The writing. The story here is really good. And god damn it, it had better be. Especially since the very ending, that bleak, dark, dismal ending, you had better have a damned good story leading up to that. And it does. This thing has some damned fine, writing. Granted, there are honestly a couple of hitches. There are a couple of like little things that just don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Such as, why is it that they state like way early on that they know that the kids are in the woods, but they'll never find them. You couldn't even find them if you had the National Guard. But then the ending, they find all of the kids anyway, and then we get to the ending. Anyway, and they find them with no problems, no issues, no hassles. It's like, I'm sorry, but you are in the backwoods of Jersey. I don't really think that you have a whole lot of place to search. So we had that. That kind of bugged me. I am still bothered by the very fact that this whole town seems to absolutely despise the sheriff. There is one line that said that we voted for you. I'm trying to figure out why. Because if the people in this town have such an absolute hatred for outsiders, for people who are from the big city, then how the hell did he get elected sheriff in the first place? Unless there was nobody else running against him, there is no earthly logical reason that he could or should be sheriff. So that also kind of bothered me. There also were other small minor things in the writing that just made no sense at all. But again, they were all minor things that are just going to make you wonder, why the hell would you do this? Why in the hell would you go and hide in a barn from kids and shut the door behind you? Mind you, hiding in the upper part of a barn from kids and shutting the door behind you and not bothering to grab the ladder or the rope or shutting the door on the other side of the barn, so that way the kids can basically send you a corpse and send you a woman before you have the opportunity to just push over the ladder, at which point the kids don't just grab the ladder, set it up, climb up and kill him. No, they just go and like scurry off. It didn't make any sense. Again, minor things, nothing huge. I'm used to those sorts of things in cheesy B movies, okay? So I'm not going to grant them a whole lot of, shit because of questionable writing. Because most of it is still really good, and that is all that truly matters. I also, though, I'm kind of wondering exactly how in the hell the entire town is swayed and brainwashed so quickly. Because, okay, I totally understand that we are told early on that everybody in this town are they are ultra religious. I don't know if this was some kind of like a commentary about how those who are ultra like Christian are some of the most weak-minded people out there who are very easily swayed by fancy words. I don't know, but still, we have that, and that kind of bothers me because everybody there is being because everybody in town are being brainwashed as easily as the kids are, and the kids basically are turned into cannibal, goblin, feral things within days of being kidnapped. So again, it is all minor bullshit, and if you don't think about it too much, you should be fine. Writing here is okay. Dialogue honestly could have been tightened up a little bit, but I honestly am not going to, I really am not going to give him a whole lot of, grief on that because the dialogue works. There is one scene, though, in terms of dialogue that I just did not like because it seemed to be there for no other reason than for the writer to show off that he is smarter than everyone else in the fucking room. Or at least the writer thinks he's the smartest man in the room by giving a character a 90-second speech that talks about Grendel, talks about Beowulf, talks about Anglo-Saxon poetry, the Anglo-Saxon language, the history of the Anglo-Saxon language, as well as the Anglo-Saxon poetic style known to no one except for college-educated people who studied Anglo-Saxon poetry, apparently. That is alliteration. Yes, we get a 90-second speech that covers actually it was probably closer to like 2 minutes, that covers all of that, and it's all there for no other reason than just essentially for this one character to essentially come off as really, really smart, and apparently just for the writer to show off that he apparently knows more than everybody else. However, if you know anything about Beowulf, Grendel, Anglo-Saxon language, alliteration, then bravo, you know just as much as this, writer, and his scene was completely wasted. I'm also wondering exactly how the hell they were able to automatically connect it to Grendel, of all things that were in all of Beowulf, simply off of a single selection of lines, which may or may not have come from Beowulf. This person couldn't tell us that, let alone from Beowulf's fight against Grendel specifically. It just seemed a little off to me. Again, it's just one of those weird little things that if you think about it too much, it's going to completely ruin the movie. Ultimately, though, writing works. Acting. I'd like to say right now, in terms of acting, that when you are working with mostly children, you run into one colossal problem, and that is most children, and I'm not trying to sound cruel, cannot act. Most of them are not properly trained in how to properly carry a scene, which you can kind of see that here. However, they were able to get these kids wrangled around, and they were able to get them to do their thing and make it work. When a child is asked to recite dialogue, it works, and it actually sounds a little bit believable. Now, there is one scene early on where it's two kids, and they are in a bedroom, and they are talking, but they're talking incredibly loud, and it is late at night. Now, their mothers had just told them, we need you to fall asleep now, and we don't want you talking because you need to be up early. So all of a sudden they are talking, but they're talking incredibly loud. Now that would have been fine if the scene would have ended with one of the parents walking in and saying, hey, we told you kids, be quiet, it's time for bed. But no, we did not get that. Instead, we just basically get a whole lot of yelling from both of them, and there is no real payoff on that. Again, it's really minor shit, and nobody else is probably going to have a single problem with it, but damn it, I like to point out these sorts of things. Beyond that, at least acting from the children is great. Acting from everybody else is a little bit of a mixed bag. Oh, and also when you ask a child to actually do any kind of physical acting, such as when they are shot to just fall instantly, they don't. In fact, there is one shot of a kid who is shot in the back, and it takes him like 7 seconds to fall because he basically slides forward and then very gently lands on his back. I totally understand, I totally understand that these kids do not want to get hurt, and probably the parents didn't want them to get hurt, but it's like a couple, maybe, I don't know, like a couple of, like practices or something, just teach him, just sort of, teach, like this kid to slide and fall quickly and then film it. Or perhaps maybe try to get like a couple of extra takes in and then go with the best. And if you did, and if that one there was the best, okay, whatever, I'm not going to harp on it much. But see, that honestly is like the one spot where these kids don't really work, is in terms of physical acting. Because when all of them are asked to do, dialogue, it's fine. But when they have to do like physical acting, when they actually have to start, like throwing rocks or swinging sticks or stabbing people, it doesn't really come off as very powerful. Which, okay, again, it's minor, it's nothing, and it's not going to kill, the film. However, it would probably have made those scenes a lot more impactful if these kids were actually able to swing those sticks or throw those rocks a little bit harder, provided that they were given like prop rocks and prop sticks, which I sort of doubt. But anyway, I am done talking about the kids, and I kind of segued away from talking about the adult actors. Most of them turn in a really good showing. A couple of them have rather, wooden readings, but again, I really, guys, am not asking for the world when it comes to a B movie. Just basically, so long as the dialogue is decent and the acting is done at least, marginally well, I'm not going to give them a whole lot of shit, and everything there works. Camera work. Camera work is sort of where I have to really harp on this movie, because, again, I understand low-budget film, but, actually, it is less camera work and more editing. But there is one shot in here that just irritated the shit out of me, which is totally the fault of the cameraman. And it is a shot of John, and it is at night, and it is the most blurry, unfocused shot in the entire film. Everything else in that scene is shot perfectly and is focused right, and then we get to this one shot, and it is a lengthy shot where he is talking, and it basically has this real like soft focus, and he looks blurry as hell. It looks horribly out of place. And perhaps maybe if they would have gone for like another take, and the cameraman would have, woken up and actually, like fixed the focus, then that shot would have been better. However, beyond that, everything else is shot really well. The issue has more to do with editing than it does with camera work. Because, okay, first of all, we have this big issue in terms of editing, where you will hear in one angle a line end, or correction, you will hear a word end on a line, and then they cut to the next angle, and you will hear the very tail end of the last sound of the previous word, like a split second after you just finished hearing. It's basically, it stops, quarter second, and then you hear that last sound again. That is just kind of sort of like sloppy editing there, but that there's more like sloppy editing in terms of sound mix. There are, though, a couple instances where we have sloppy editing in terms of camera work. And that is when we see the cameras jittering, moving, or getting really close to just being turned off. A real big example of this, and everybody is going to notice it, I can just feel it, is when a woman notices that her daughter has been kidnapped, and there's this big hole in the fence. The camera is in the field, and she is looking out, and she's yelling, and the shot looks great. And then the camera wiggles and then turns, like downwards, as if the cameraman were getting ready to shut off the camera. So technically that shot should have been cut before the camera started, like wiggling and jiggling and then turning down. But instead, we get all of that, and it looks horrible. We also have other times when a shot is getting ready to end, and then the camera will begin to, like turn away again, similar to that previous shot. So we have very, very sloppy editing, and thank fuck the editing is not so bad that it ruins the movie. Because guys, we have here a really tight story with a horrifically dismal ending. We have acting that is actually rather good, considering the fact that it's a B movie. And it's just that, we have this sloppy ass editing. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the score, because this whole movie, I swear to God, is scored using a $50 Casio keyboard, and I'm not saying that to be harsh. They made scoring a film with a $50 Casio keyboard work, okay? The score here is really good, shockingly. And also, I can totally understand them using a $50 Casio, considering the fact that this movie had almost no budget, at least I'm going to assume. It looks like one of those... It basically looks like one of those it sort of looks like a bare bones budget film. Special effects here are really good, but then again, there really isn't a whole lot outside of cuts, scrapes, squib shots. A couple of those squib shots look amazing, I should mention, as well as a couple instances of people being, cut open. All of that looks really good, especially considering the budget. So yeah, guys, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Beware Children at Play? Yes, if. I have to preface this, or I have to state this once more. If you care about children in any way, the ending is going to make you hate every second of this movie. I don't care how good the story is up until the ending. The ending is probably going to make you physically sick, and you're going to want to avoid the movie. However, if you can look past the incredibly bleak, incredibly dark ending, then everything here is great. Well, minus the, slightly, sloppy editing and what have you. But still, this movie is totally worth checking out if you can look past the ending, okay? That, I cannot believe I have to state how graphic the ending is, but guys, I do. I really have to just hit that nail on the fucking head a few more times. This movie is awesome. However, that fucking ending is going to totally ruin it for a lot of people. I can absolutely tell. Now, Beware Children at Play came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in is a friend of mine, and her name is Kari. And you can check out her brand new YouTube channel. It is one of those brand new YouTube channels where it doesn't actually have a proper name, it's just a bunch of fucking code. So I'm going to put the link to it in this video's description. It actually is her and two other friends of mine, and they all do like Let's Plays over there. Go over there, check it out. I want you to go and click on that link, go there, check them out. Kari, thank you. I've been absolutely curious as hell about this movie ever since I first took that Troma test on, I think it was on the Toxic Avenger DVD when I was like 19. So I've been curious about this sucker for a long goddamn time. And I finally got to see it. And it was not quite it really isn't quite what I had expected, but really that's kind of sort of a good thing, because I was absolutely expecting this movie to suck out loud. And it wound up being okay. So now I'm probably going to have to watch it again with commentary and all that. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be hanging on to this thing for quite a while, because I can totally see myself watching it again. So yes, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.